I'm starting off with this quote because I just thought it's what my message is, but what I think is an important part of this conference, and that is looking at our own beliefs and learning from the beliefs of others. So just take some time. Sometimes people hold a core belief that is very strong. When they're presented with evidence that works against that belief, the new evidence cannot be accepted. It would create a feeling that is extremely uncomfortable called cognitive dissonance. And because it's so important to protect the core belief, they will rationalize, ignore, and even deny anything that doesn't fit in with the core belief. And that's what we mustn't do here this weekend. So I'm talking about autonomous birth and how our beliefs affect the way we view birthing, how we choose to birth, and how we manage other birthing women. And I'm talking about why women like me choose to go against our cultural norms and birth unassisted. Some women don't birth in hospitals because they understand that childbirth is not a disease. They don't pay physicians thousands of rands to probe them and cut them open and tell them what to do. They don't submit themselves to IVs and fetal monitors and vaginal examinations, oxytocin shots, or cesarean sections. Nor do they bring the medical industry into their homes, bringing their midwives, like all of you, with sterilized instruments, rubber gloves, needles, and other birth paraphernalia. They don't believe that this is necessary. Instead, they have a powerful belief that birth is a natural function of a normal, healthy body, and that if left unhindered, the process will be uncomplicated and safe for both the mother and the baby. Much safer than in a hospital, where there's an ever-present risk of the cascade of interventions. They believe in themselves, in their body's ability to birth successfully, and most often also in a divine power from whom they can draw support. Unassisted childbirth is an act of enormous faith. Each one of us here today has certain beliefs about birthing. And as I said in my intro, what you believe affects the choices you make for giving birth, your view of your role at birth, and how much you will manage a birthing woman. I'm sure there are many people here silently asking the same question that a very skeptical and abrupt and rude pediatrician once asked me. And what she said was something like this: "You have no idea of the kind of risks there are at a birth. I've studied for 7 years to be a doctor. What makes you think you can do it alone?" And she made me fully understand that she thought I'd been both foolish and irresponsible by choosing to birth without any medically trained attendant. What I now understand, and I have a little bit more sympathy for because of it, is that people who work in hospitals often see the high-risk woman and they see the worst possible birth scenarios. And this clouds your perception of what a normal, healthy woman can accomplish. Most of us have also been conditioned by our own culture and our society to believe that the hospital is the safest place to give birth. And people like me, our mothers just talk about giving birth in hospital, so that's the assumed normal. I'd like to share some factors that contributed to my husband and I making the decision to birth unassisted and to take full responsibility for the outcome and for the birth of our children. But before I continue, I will say that I do not tell other women to birth unassisted. I don't promote it or recommend it, as it's not for most women. It's a very personal decision, and it's one that both the mother and the father of the baby need to educate themselves about, and they need to be united about it and take responsibility for whatever may happen. However, I do support the right of a woman to birth autonomously if she chooses. So how did we get to birth unassisted? First, I was given the book Active Birth by Sandra Velasquez when I was expecting my first baby. And from that, I came to the conclusion that an unmedicated, a physiological birth was what I wanted. But at the time, we were battling financially, and so birthing at the state hospital in Hermanus as a state patient seemed the best choice to me, given the kind of birth I wanted and our situation. And as far as hospital births go, it was pretty good, except for the unnecessary episiotomy, which was the most painful part of the birth and the recovery period. So with baby number 2, now that I'd proven to myself that my body can give birth vaginally, I decided that I definitely wanted a home birth. And I phoned around, and I couldn't find a midwife who would take a client in Hermanus at that time. They wanted me to drive over the mountain to Somerset West, and that defeated the point. And so it would have to be without a midwife. At the time, I'd been doing a lot of research on home birthing, and I'd stumbled across websites and groups online that were supporting unassisted birth. And I ordered some of the recommended books from the United States, and these convinced me that this was actually the better choice than any of the other options. I thought I'd just share one or two of the quotes that really stuck with me at the time, because maybe they'll have the same impact on you. In this book, which was written for firemen and ambulancemen that I ordered for my husband, in the introduction it said there, "The emergency attendant will be overwhelmed with gratitude and widely praised as a hero or heroine, after catching a baby on the way to a hospital or something. And he or she can smile within themselves at the knowledge that their simple tasks could have been performed by any bright 8-year-old. Then I read a book called Unassisted Childbirth. And there was a chapter written by the husband of the author, and he said, "Men, you would never let another man between your wife's legs while she's lying in bed half naked in your bedroom, right? Yet you give up that position when she's in the hospital to have a baby and you don't think twice. I think there's something wrong with that." And that just resonated with me. So my reasons were, firstly, my belief system. I am a Bible believer, and I know that some people think terrible things have been done in the name of Christianity, so I'm careful about what I identify myself with. But I came to the conclusion that if my Savior was born in a stable, then my clean modern-day home was good enough for my baby, and that if my God is not a respecter of persons, then what he did for that baby's mother, he could do for me too. And so I put my faith in him to come through for me. Secondly, my personal space. I hate a doctor even looking down my throat. So you can imagine how I feel about PVs. Then the sexual privacy issue, that quote probably summed it up. Although I'm not ashamed or feel guilty about my body, I just choose that it's something, that part of my body is for sexual intimacy, and I'm not going to readily reveal it to other people as far as possible, especially not a strange man. And I also believe that the act of birthing is the culmination of the intimate sexual act of conception. And therefore, it should also be an intimate event, not performed in the presence of an outsider. And then lastly, autonomy and solitude. I wanted to have the freedom to birth my way without anyone checking on me, observing me, or telling me what to do. I wanted to get to a place where I could listen to my instincts and act on them without trying to cooperate with or accommodate or please somebody else. And with each labor, I labored alone most of the time until I reached a point. In every single one, there was a point where I just felt, I don't want to be alone anymore. And then I'd call my husband to come and be with me. And interestingly, there was always a time when I thought, I don't know how much longer it's going to be. Because, there's no one measuring you to tell you you're 10 centimeters or you're 7. And he always just says, you're nearly there. And I say, how do you know? He says, because I've seen you like this before. So maybe he does have a bit of intuition. Because the best thing about an unassisted birth is eventually you just feel a fetal ejection reflex and a baby pops its head out. So there's no coaching, no screaming, no push. And so how did it go? At my first home birth, I had to unlearn things that I had been taught in hospital that weren't true. I'd been told to hurry up and push the baby out before it went into distress. And so with my second birth, I pushed quite hard and I tore and I had to go in for stitches after. So with number 3, my goal was not to tear. And she just popped out in the shower and that was fine. After that, I've had 2 boys that were 3.9 kgs and I birthed them without any tearing. I had a funny story where the one came when my contractions were still 10 minutes apart. And I thought I was just going to go to the loo, and then baby came and the phone was on the bed. So I had to get to the bed, phone my husband because I knew he wouldn't hear me we were in this long L-shaped house, and he was on that end and I was on this end. So I knew, I can't scream, he won't hear, I had to phone him. It was a funny story. He got there in time. And the consequence is I've got 6 beautiful, healthy children who I think are all on the way to reaching their full potential in life because I think I gave them the best possible start. And were we just lucky 5 times in a row with the home births? I don't think it was just luck. I think we enjoyed divine favor and blessing and grace, and that's the reward of exercising your faith. And I believe I was empowered, and I put my faith not only in God, but in myself. My spiritual and emotional state of mind, I believed in my body's natural ability, my baby's ability to birth, and the power of our instincts working together. And so my take-home message is that women's bodies are designed for birth. And if a woman is encouraged to believe this and not fear birth, she can take responsibility for birth and not need anybody telling her what to do. This quote I like: safety is a disguise worn by technocratic ideology. The real issue in the home versus hospital debate is not safety, but the conflict between radically opposed systems of value and belief. Birth is not normal, natural, and incredibly dangerous. When a mother births her way, she's taught to trust her instincts, and that wires her brain and enables her to become a more confident and empowered mother who will take responsibility and continue to make good choices for her family. And that's why I'm encouraged that I was invited to share my message. And yeah, I'll answer questions later if anybody has. Thank you.